You are live.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, May 26th, 2020 Dublin City Council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This evening's meeting will be a virtual meeting. We are living in extraordinary times. The state of Ohio and the city of Dublin have declared states of emergency. The Ohio legislature passed several emergency laws to address the pandemic, including the ability for public entities to have virtual meetings. We appreciate this ability to maintain our continuity of government. We will be holding council meetings online and live streaming those meetings on YouTube. You can access the live stream on the city's website. In order to submit any questions or comments during the meeting, please use the form under the streaming video on the city's website. These questions and comments will be relayed to City Council by our Director of Communications and Public Information. We want to accommodate public participation and comment to the greatest extent possible. We welcome your comments on public business. Please refrain from inappropriate comments. This is certainly an imperfect system, but we are doing our best in these difficult times, and we appreciate your patience in that. With that said, Anne, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Aludo.
Here.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Here.
Mr. Keeler.
Here.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Here.
Ms. Fox.
Here.
Mr. Reiner. And Mr. Peterson. He is present.
Here. All right.
Great, thank you. Okay, we are going to adjourn to executive session. I make a motion to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, preparing for, conducting, reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and discussion of the compensation of a public employee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christina. And would you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson. Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Yes.
Very good. We will be back at 7 p.m. to resume the public portion of our city council meeting. Thank you.
Good evening. Council is still in the executive session, so if you'd like to mute your lines and turn the camera off, we'll get started as soon as the rest of the council members join us for the 7 o'clock meeting.
Very good, Mr. Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Hey there, folks. The council is still in executive session. Once everyone is out of there, they'll rejoin us here on the live stream meeting. If you'd like to keep your camera off and your audio off until everyone joins us, that would be great. Thanks. Just a reminder, if you'd like to mute your line until we get the city council back in the meeting, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, we will go ahead and come out of executive session, and we will reconvene our city council meeting. With that, I'd like to invite Homer. If everyone can please mute your microphones. Homer, I'd like to ask you to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, okay, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Homer. Okay, citizens' comments. I believe I saw Ann sent me a note just before that we had not received any prior to the start of the meeting. Ann, is that true? Okay, I'll come back to Ann. Sue, can you tell me if we have received any citizen comments on items not on this evening agenda via the web?
No, we have not.
Very good, thank you for that. Okay, we have our consent agenda. Our consent agenda is, we have 2 meeting minutes, the special meeting and the regular council meeting on May the 11th. Does any city council member wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none. Ann, did we receive any comments regarding the consent agenda?
No, we did not.
Thank you. And Sue, did we receive any via the web?
No comments.
Very good. That being the case, is there a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ludo. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Keeler. Ann, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Ms. Ludo,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Okay. We have some second readings this on ordinances. Ordinance 13-20.
This is authorizing the city manager to execute and accept necessary conveyance documents and contracts to accept a 0.068 acre more or less sanitary sewer easement from Darshan Shah for property owned and located at 8700 Highland Quarry Road, Union County, parcel number 170-024-039-0000.
Thank you for all of those zeros, Ann.
Yeah.
We have a staff report from Paul Hammersmith this evening. So Paul, please take it away.
Good evening, members of council. There is no new information, no new or updated information for this item beyond what was presented at the first reading. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance as it was presented to City Council.
Thank you. Do we have any comments, Ann, from the general public regarding this ordinance?
Oh, we did not.
And Sue, did we receive any via the web?
No comments, no questions.
Any future questions or discussion via council? Hearing none. Paul, I would like to thank you that you answered the question I had last time about what else is serviced through this, and there was just one other entity that was served at the end of this line. So
That's
thank
correct.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay. That being said, Ann, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner, Ms. Fox,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Ludo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. We have first reading public hearing ordinance 14-20. Ann?
This is an ordinance adopting the proposed tax budget for fiscal year 2021.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. That was Ms. Saludo, I believe. And Mr. Stifler is our reporter this evening. So please take it away, Matt.
Good evening, members of council. Ordinance 14-20 is the 2021 tax budget. This document is required under Ohio law to be adopted, effective, and filed with the county by July 20th. Passing this ordinance and filing with the county makes the city eligible for local government funding, and that gives the Budget Commission an opportunity to review our inside millage allocation for 2021. Because revenue estimates are not yet available for the remainder of 2020, let alone 2021, we utilized our current revenue projections for 2021 when developing this tax budget. Staff still expect that new revenue projections for 2020 and 2021 to be available in the July-August timeframe, but the ORC deadline requirements require us to take action on this budget now, which is why we're bringing it forward. I'm available for any questions.
Thanks, Matt. And the ORC, that's Ohio Revised Code that requires us to do this. And this is not a binding budget. This is just a budget that we submit. Their budget cycle and ours don't line up. So this is what we submit for the balance of what we have, and doesn't encumber our budgeting process. Very good. Anne, do we have any comments? Did we have any come in prior to the meeting this evening?
No, we did not.
And Sue, do we have any public comment via the web?
No comments.
Okay, council questions, discussion?
Hey, Matt, it's Kathy. I just had a quick question. So we file this, and then come come July, August, when we have better estimates, do you do an amended, or is it, this is a one and done type of a?
I believe this is a one and done. We need to file a certificate of available resources with the county on an ongoing basis. And when we adjust our budget, we'll adjust that document with them internally.
Thanks.
Any other questions or discussion from council? Okay, so let's see. This will have second reading on June the 8th. So we will look forward to hearing the update at that point in time. That'll bring us to introductions, resolution 26-20.
Accepting the lowest and best bid for the 2020 Stormwater Maintenance Program.
Introduction.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Ms. Ludo. We get to have Paul back. So please, Mr. Hammersmith, take it away.
Certainly. Members of council, on May 6th of 2020, one bid was received, opened, and read for the 2020 Stormwater Maintenance Program. This program provides for task order maintenance and repairs to Dublin storm sewer system when such needs are identified during routine system inspection, resident request, or on an emergency basis. The bid award and contract for this program are based on a per unit hour cost for providing laborers, foremen, and equipment such as a dozer, a backhoe, or a grader, and including equipment operators, mobilization, and fuel. Danbert Incorporated submitted the lowest and best bid of $1,830 per unit hour for providing labor and equipment. The engineer's estimate for this program is $100,000, and that funding is coming from our stormwater maintenance capital funds within the CIP. Danbert has provided this work for the past 8 years, most recently for 2018 and 2019 at a rate of $1,757 per unit hour. This most recent bid represents just over a 4% increase in that per hour cost. This program will commence upon this bid acceptance and subsequent contract execution, and shall be completed by the end of this year. Staff has thoroughly reviewed the Danbert bid. As indicated above, staff has previously worked with Danbert and has been pleased with the quality of the work, attention to detail, and specifically the responsiveness to repair requests. Staff recommends council approval of this ordinance, accepting as lowest and best the bid of Danbert Incorporated in the amount of $1,830 per unit hour. I would be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thanks, Paul. And did we receive any comments prior to the meeting?
We did not.
And Sue, have we received any on the web?
No comments or questions.
Great. Council questions, discussion?
I'm just curious why we only got one bid. Is that common? I know we've used Danbert. They do good work. I'm just curious if anyone else threw their hat in the ring, or if we're on a timeline or something that we had to get the work started.
Yeah, we've been asked that question previously. Part of it is most contractors, like larger projects, don't necessarily like the task order work. It's kind of a particular skill set, and it just doesn't fit every contractor's niche. And then it really just comes down to availability and if there's other work on the market at the time. So this has been the case for the last several years, that we really have only had one bid. Now, we're very fortunate that we have had Danbert because they have done very good work for us, and actually what we think is a fair price based on their hourly charges.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Paul, about how many hours do you expect this to take? Is it just for the $100,000 estimate, or are these other $575,000 numbers in there as well?
The $100,000 comes from the $575,000 for maintenance. It's a not to exceed amount at $100,000. And then with the remaining $475,000, what we intend to do this year is couple that money with additional $250,000 in the CIP for stormwater improvements, and package them together so that we're more project specific and bid those improvements together. So that's going to be our approach this year. And you'll see that adjustment going forward in the capital improvements program when you review it in the coming months.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council, comments? Hearing none. Ann, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Ms. Aludo,
Yes.
Mayor Amaros Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner, and Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Great. Thanks again, Paul. Next up is resolution 27-20.
Accepting the lowest and best bid for the 2020 street maintenance program, phase 1.
And again,
This will be the last of me for this evening.
say
On May
it.
13th of 2024, bids were received and opened in red for the 2020 street maintenance program phase 1. The engineers, and there's a set of plans actually placed in your council planning room if you would like to see those to review the streets that are included in this year's program. The engineer's estimate for this program was $2,770,098. Those budgeted funds come from the $6.3 million budgeted for street maintenance within the capital improvements program. Strauser Paving Company Incorporated submitted the lowest and best bid of $2,266,142.10. Work included in the 2020 street maintenance program phase 1 consists of roadway resurfacing, reconstruction, base stabilization, spot repair, and other associated work on 20 different streets throughout the community. All work is planned to be complete by November 20th of this year. All work will be performed while maintaining traffic where possible, with efforts being taken place to minimize interruptions to motorists, provide access to emergency services, maintain access to driveways and adjacent streets as much as possible, and consistently provide a safe work area for motorists and workers. We will use our typical communication methods that we've always used with this program, flyers, handouts, the web, changeable message boards. I think you're in several different means. Staff has thoroughly reviewed the bids submitted by Strauser Paving Company Incorporated. Our previous experience with Strauser has been favorable, including these projects, which were the 2019 pavement repair program, our 2018 street maintenance program, 2017 street maintenance program, and then lastly, our 2017 parking lot and shared use maintenance program. Staff recommends council approval of this resolution, accepting its lowest and best the bid of Strauser Paving Company in the amount of $2,266,142.10. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Great. Thanks, Paul. I wanted to make sure, I know that I think I heard Councilmember Aludo do an introduction on this, and I think it got spoken over. So put her down for that.
Right.
And Jane, I'll come right to you. Let me grab Ann, did we receive any comments prior to the meeting?
I know we did not.
And Sue, have we received any on the live stream this evening?
No comments, no questions.
Very good, thank you. Jane, we'll go back to council questions and discussion. So please take it away, Jane.
Just a couple questions for you. I noticed that South High Street, south of 161 is on the list, as well as France Road down to Rings. So I'm curious if it's going to be finished by November and we have the possibility of laying those, maybe undergrounding the wires. I know there's some work that's sort of planned for South High Street. I'd hate to see a whole new pavement go down and then we tear it back up again. I'm just kind of curious, maybe Dana's on, as to making sure that we don't lay new pavement down and then tear it up next year. And then secondly, on South High Street. Secondly, with the Daimler Group doing the work that they plan on doing, and I don't know when they're breaking ground, but I think they're getting ready to start. That's going to get repaved right in front of that construction site. Is that going to be an issue?
Yeah, I'll take those kind of one at a time. On South High Street, as far as any of the overhead utility burial that we're working on with AEP, most all that work is going to take place behind the businesses to get new services to those businesses. So really the work on South High Street itself will be taking down the overhead and removing it, because it's going to be basically relocated behind the businesses themselves. So that line will just basically be eliminated. Right.
Okay, and then we're going to do some landscaping, and I know that that there was some work that had to be done to create more dirt volume, and that was also going to tear up the street as well. I mean, the only reason I'm asking is to be sure that we don't pave and then tear up. So,
understood. Yeah, we tried not to make a practice of that at all. So, I mean, your concern is understood, and we take that to heart. But that is really we try to coordinate and minimize as much as possible any sort of repeat work.
right,
But I mean,
right.
this is where these streets ended up in terms of the program. And I'm not sure yet, where we're headed as far as that tree lawn work and creating those additional growing areas for trees themselves.
Okay, that would be my biggest concern.
And then on France Road, we just recently, last year, we started a culvert project there, did quite a bit of work there. We intended for this work to follow up behind. I don't know that Daimler has a lot of work on France Road itself. If it is, whatever work they intend to do, we will coordinate together with this program to make sure that we minimize disruption and again, not to repeat any work itself.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Paul, I noticed that most of this is kind of the south end of town. Are you clumping these that we'll see come through by geographic region? So this is all we would expect to see in this area, and then maybe something in the northeast, that sort of thing?
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about our pavement maintenance program, and as our asset management engineer, Bob Taylor, goes through and evaluates streets, he bases it totally on pavement condition ratings and the condition of the streets themselves, and keeping them in good condition. Doesn't necessarily consider where they are located throughout the city. Certainly we try to, for efficiencies, try and keep similar type streets gathered together. And that's really what this first phase of the program is. It's the higher production work. It's typically more of the uncurbed streets. You'll see in phase 2 is more of the curb and gutter streets themselves. But I don't believe that he pays a lot of attention to geographic location. It's really driven by pavement condition rating and the condition of the streets. And then the other consideration certainly is volume and what's served by those streets. And
well, I would just like to echo Jane's comment of please communicate with our parks folks, tree replacements and utility relocation on South High Street, because I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. But I know Dana would have you do that anyhow.
certainly,
So,
absolutely.
any other questions, comments, thoughts by council? Kathy, yes, please.
Yeah, just a quick question, Paul. So this is a phase 1, phase 2. As we heard Matt say earlier, we'll have a better estimate of what our budget impact may potentially be from the pandemic in July, August. So we're seeing the second phase of this coming end of
June 22nd is when the we're intending for the bid acceptance to be before you at
And
that council meeting.
Thank you. So that would be the remainder of the full budget, or is there like a phase 2, phase 3?
No, it's phase 1 and phase 2, but we did make some adjustments in this program to reduce it down, recognizing potential reduction in revenue. So, I mean, that is built into this program at the 2.6 million right now. And then the current estimate for what we have out to bid is around 2.9. Presently, we expect that, I mean, typically we've always had bids under our engineer's estimate on our street maintenance program. So those numbers will be less than the 6.3 that's budgeted in total. So
But we'll have some flexibility as we get closer, it sounds like. And I'm looking at Matt. He's also appearing here, yeah?
Yeah. And we've had many conversations with Matt, so.
I'm sure. Okay, thank you very much.
I would add that I've had a lot too, but my direction has been to try to pump the brakes a bit on pavement on several of the capital projects, as you know, and we briefed in our last meeting with you to try to pump the brakes on some of the maintenance. Not knowing quite where we are on our budget this year, but to the extent that we come out of this okay, we have the ability to do other phases of bidding and try to keep on track with our maintenance program. That would be our hope.
Thank you for that. I think that's great to be able to phase it that way. So that's wonderful. I know that's probably more work, but that makes great sense. Thank you.
Other thoughts, comments, questions from council? Okay, hearing none. Ann, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Ludo,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
and Mr. Reiner, I think is still having some technical issues.
Thank you.
Final farewell to you, Mr. Hammersmith.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. Okay, next up, resolution 28-20.
Is approving and accepting the plat for Deer Run Estates.
I'll introduce it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Saludo. And we have Claudia, I believe, but maybe Jenny. Oh, no, we have Claudia is going to present this evening. So
yes, I am here. Let me see if I can pull up my presentation real quick. I cannot. I apologize for that. I do only have one slide, to be frank with you all. It is ultimately a subdivision of something that has been approved in 2011 by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And the applicant has made some slight adjustments to decrease the extent of the roadway that would serve the lots. So there ultimately are 4 lots, 2 have already been built on, and 2 are currently vacant and are for sale. And the applicant has made, with the fire department's help, some very minor adjustments to the, I want to say it's a street, but it really is a drive that would access those lots. And then also changed a very small lot line adjustment, but it's something that we can't approve administratively. So Mr. Fay is here from OHM Advisors as well, in case you have any questions. The Planning Commission did approve this or recommended approval to City Council at their April 30th meeting.
okay, is that the end of your presentation, Claudia?
Yes, it would be, yes.
Very good. Thank you. Anne, could you please let me know, have we gotten any public comment from this prior to this evening's meeting?
No, we have not.
Okay, and Sue, have we received any live stream?
No comments, no questions.
Thank you. Okay, council questions and discussion or comments? It was my understanding that this was primarily motivated by EMS access to these sites back here and I think it was a turn radius and turning around a fire truck and things like that. So, but Jane, go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say it came through planning and zoning and it passed on a consent agenda. And it also was mainly a request to reduce the footprint of a private drive. There was absolutely no concern or comments or reasons to review it because it was a fairly simple request.
Great, thanks for that insight, Jane. Appreciate it. Any other comments? Hearing none, Anne, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms,
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Fay. Appreciate you joining us. I'm sure it was a lovely time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes. Okay, resolution 29-20.
Declaring certain city-owned property as surplus, authorizing the city manager to dispose of said property in accordance with section 37.07 of the Dublin Codified Ordinances.
Guess
Is
what?
there an introduction?
I'll introduce it for you.
Thank you, Ms. Ludo. Megan, good evening. Please take it away.
Good evening, members of council. Fleet management staff has reviewed our vehicles and equipment pursuant to the replacement policy, and after applying the criteria set forth in the policy to each asset, staff has identified vehicles for replacement. The complete list of vehicles and equipment that have been identified for disposal are listed in the exhibit that was provided in your packet. City code requires city council authorization for disposal of motor vehicles, and this resolution authorizes the city manager to dispose of the identified vehicles and equipment that staff has determined have reached the end of their useful life for city purposes. Assets identified for disposal will be posted on the City of Dublin website, along with a link to the auction website, GovDeals. Staff recommends adoption of resolution 29-20, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate that. Anne, were there any comments submitted prior to the meeting this evening?
No, they were not.
And Sue, have we received any live stream?
No comments or questions.
Okay. Council questions, discussion.
I'm going to ask the same question I asked last year. I'm always a little surprised, and maybe it's different in the city, but a couple of these are 2016. They've only had 468 hours worth of use. A Hustler, which I don't know what a Hustler is, but it seems like that's not very much time, or they're not very old. I don't know. I drive a very old car. So could you explain that to me, Megan, why something that new with that little hours is being traded in when it's only a maintenance cost reason?
So we are actually disposing of 10 mowers. So some of the equipment that you might have difficulty identifying on this list are mowers.
Mowers, okay.
And our strategy for replacing those mowers have been to dispose of them and sell them while they're still under warranty.
Okay.
Because we receive a much better price for those mowers when they're still under warranty.
Okay.
So that's been our strategy. We do use them day in and day out during the summertime, so they get a lot of use, but definitely we've seen a much higher price come in for those mowers when they're still under warranty.
Well, that's fine, because I couldn't tell the difference between what was a mower, what was a vehicle, what was a 4x4. I just didn't know. It just seemed like it was not very many hours and it was very young. So I appreciate that. But as for the vehicles, what's the policy when you're on your vehicles? Is it the same? Do you keep them for a period of 4 or 5? I see. Well, I know the Crown Vics have got to be police cars, but.
So our replacement policy outlines some criteria that we use as rule of thumb. So just for example, light duty trucks and sedans, we have an average 8-year time frame, and we take a look at them when the miles get to about 120,000. But we utilize a very sophisticated fleet management program called Faster, and it has all the data, the costs, the depreciation, all that stuff, and it factors in all those data points and then recommends to us when equipment is ready to be replaced.
Okay.
And then we apply our judgment and our own experience to that data.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think the public likes to know how we manage our fleet, and I appreciate the answer. Thanks.
The other thing I would make sure to add is the other side of the equation, and that is how inexpensively the city can purchase equipment. So because we buy through state bid and bulk purchase like this, we buy it extremely inexpensively, can sell it relatively at a high level. And so the overall cost of, be it vehicle or mowers particularly, we really do a great job of really getting equipment fairly cheap, putting it back out to market, keep rotating the fleet. The backside of that is we don't have to have more mechanics to maintain older equipment, and we don't have to keep a lot of parts and the like on the shelves as well. So
Thanks, Dana. Great explanation for us.
Okay, other questions, comments? Hearing none. Ann, would you please call a roll?
Sure. Mr. Keeler,
Yes.
Saludo,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa,
Yes.
Miriam Rose Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the other portion of our agenda, and I believe maybe Mr. McDaniel has some things for us under other.
really only one item this evening, members of council. I just want to remind you that this Thursday, we'll have a special council meeting. It's 5 p.m. this Thursday, May 28th. At that meeting, we will review and discuss our plans regarding the reopening of city facilities, as well as associated programs. We'll do our best to highlight what all those are. I know we've had a lot of emails from the public, contact city council, contact clerk of council, contact city manager, and so forth, asking about the status and also providing us input, very valuable input about their thoughts on these things. So I want to assure those that are emailing us or otherwise contacting us that that's certainly taken under advisement as we look through reopening of facilities and programs, and that those will also be provided in the record for council and kept in the record. So if you have those comments, please send those in advance of the meeting. There'll also be a point at which, certainly as we do with this meeting, because it is a public meeting and public participation is certainly welcome, that under this format, folks can also send their comments in as you have seen us trying to do here or welcoming here tonight. So encourage the public to participate to the extent that they can. And we'll have more information on that Thursday evening. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Great, thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. I'm assuming we've pushed those communications and and we continue to push those notifications out to the general public through our channels for Thursday night's meeting. Because
yes,
great, thanks. All right, staff comments. Anything else?
that was all I had. Thank you.
Council committee reports, planning and zoning, Jane.
I'll just, we've had a lot of cases, but the one thing I want to tell you about is that the North Market signage came through, and I think you'll find that it's going to be a very colorful and fun look to the building. There's a 40 square foot red rooster, two-dimensional sitting on top of live green grass atop a canopy to the entrance of the North Market, just to give you a little peek as to what that's going to look like. So we had sent back the applicant, Crawford Hoyne, to come back with a little bit more innovative and pedestrian friendly signage. They did a great job, and that got passed at planning and zoning. And that's probably the most significant case we had Thursday evening. So.
Jane, you said rooster?
It's a rooster. It's a red rooster.
So have we've approved chickens then? City chickens?
No, we really approved roosters, just red ones.
Oh,
That's all that's allowed in the city right now are red roosters.
okay.
It's a lot of fun. It's going to be great. And they have really activated the street with garage doors that'll come up. They changed some of the frontage with some red tile. I think it'll be very nice when it opens with a lot of fun signage.
Is there going to be a hot chicken takeover in there?
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to go see.
That's their icon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just point of clarification, red roosters as signs, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Go ahead. Take the fun out of this. Yeah. It's going
Okay,
to be.
anything else, Jane?
Nope. That's it.
Great, thank you for that. Administrative Committee, Kathy?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Great. Community Development, I don't know if we have John on audio or not. If you do, John, chime in. If not, I'll circle back. So we'll skip forward to Christina on Finance.
Nothing this time. Thank you.
Okay. Public Services, Jane?
Nothing.
CODA, Kathy?
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Mid Ohio the Morpsey for me, we had some more different conversations about COVID handling items this week. Morpsey's done a great job of hosting calls for our elected officials. You probably have all heard that this the Senate Bill 310 is kind of hung up in the House. And so discussions have been happening about that, about the distribution of the $350 million to local governments. So until we get something out of the House, I don't have a whole lot more to say about that. Logan, Union, Champaign County, Andy?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. 33 Corridor, Kathy Jane?
Nothing. Thank you.
Arts Council, John? I don't know that we have John. If he comes back, we'll get him. Board of Education, Greg. You're on mute.
There we go. Thank you. I talked to Dr. Hoadley this afternoon. They had their commencements over the weekend. He said all three went as well as could be expected, and he did express a lot of appreciation for the police officers providing all of the traffic direction, and also the city staff processing their tent permits for the roundabouts and the tents that they put up. He thought that went through very quickly, and he really appreciated that consideration. He also expressed appreciation for the signs, recognizing the class of 2020. I guess they are strategizing on how to be able to continue to provide school programming and the summer school kinds of activities that happen on in a lot of their buildings, and a lot of their elementary school buildings in particular, like, I guess. So they're working on that programming, and then I'm sure that they'll be in touch with Dana. And whenever I talk to Dr. Hoadley, he just goes on and on about Dana and the relationship he has with the staff. So I add very little other than just passing information along, and that relationship with the schools is as strong as ever. And they're doing a fantastic job, and we really appreciate what they did, and their ability to pull off these commencements over the weekend and make everybody feel as though they're getting the recognition that they deserve under the current circumstances. It's a tremendous amount of work. And I saw on a posting that came out from the schools earlier today, and it's just almost like a newsletter, like it's no big deal, that they're going to be continuing to provide breakfasts and lunches for school kids all summer long that need it, just because they need it. And that's the kind of school district that we have, and the partnership with the city. It's almost like I wish we had more opportunities to help them, because Dr. Hoadley, I know he has a bigger staff than even the city does. And he has certainly kids with all kinds of needs, and they don't end with the end of the school year. They continue, and they're feeding these kids breakfast and lunch and not even breaking a sweat. And then, we all noticed when they sent some extra personal protection equipment over to the hospital that the schools weren't going to need. So Dr. Hoadley is just a fantastic guy. It's a wonderful school system, and most importantly of that, it's serving a really fantastic community. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. It is impressive when you have to do something you didn't know that you could do. Things like drive-through graduations, and all of a sudden you can do them because you have to, and they did them by all accounts that I've heard exceptionally well. So thanks for that. Washington Township, Jane.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Dublin Bridges, Jane. Now you're on mute.
Sorry. As Greg mentioned, we have this great partnership the city does with the schools. The schools also has a great partnership with Dublin Bridges and many of our service organizations. Right now, Dublin Bridges is working with another partner, the Dublin Arts Council, to put 500 bags of art materials into those breakfast and lunches that are getting served to the students during the summer, because there are many students who don't have the opportunity to have those bags, and they are asking for the community to donate $25 if they feel that that's something that they like to do at neighborhoodbridges.org. Sign up for their email, think about donating $25 and getting arts bags into those lunch and breakfasts for the students. So we're very proud of them. That's all.
Very good. Thanks, Jane. Appreciate that. Certainly is some exciting work going on there. Veterans Committee, John, I think we still may not have John, but I do want to thank everyone who was involved in the Memorial Day celebration. There's somebody just popped up. I don't know if that's maybe John. If it is, you're muted.
It is, John.
Okay. John, you want to unmute? I think it's *6, I think maybe on your phone. There you go.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you want to give us a little update about Veterans Committee?
We had a really fantastic program, and I really would recommend, and I was a little disappointed that not that many people have gone into the video. The videos are absolutely fantastic. Our team of videographic guys did a wonderful job. There's a short one that's a few minutes, and then there's a longer one. And I really recommend everybody to zoom in on this, because it is really, well, everybody that's seen it so far said the execution is just brilliant. The music was wonderful. It was just it's a fantastic production, and it really encapsulates what Memorial Day was all about. So if you get a chance, please watch the two videos.
Great. Thank you, John. And Christine, Complete Count Committee.
Yeah, so we are, we have a complete rate at 77.6%, which is 3.2% away from our goal. So I just encourage everybody to keep getting out there and reminding people that the census is not over, and that we still need to hit our goal before people start hitting the streets. We want 80.8%.
Okay, thank you. Roundtable items. I will just go across the screen here on my computer, and I'm going to start with Jane.
I'm just going to pass this week.
Okay, and Christina?
Yeah, of course, certainly a big congratulations to all class of 2020 grads. I know several of them, got a nephew who graduated as well. Everyone's making the best of it. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to the Community Champion Award recipients. I know several of you, along with myself, have participated in previous years' ceremonies, so it's kind of a bummer that we didn't get to do it this year, but the Chamber always does an amazing job with it. But congratulations to all of those recipients as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Andy? You're muted. Oh, there you go.
I'm going to pass today.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Greg?
Nothing.
Okay, John, I see you're still on. Do you have anything for Roundtable?
No, I'm passing too. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And Kathy?
I'll only make a quick comment. John, I watched those videos. You're right. They were incredibly well done. And I have to say that folks that I saw about over the weekend said, you know, maybe this certainly wouldn't be the Memorial Weekend that we would plan, but so many have expressed how much appreciation they have for everyone who serves, certainly those that have given their ultimate price, but just everybody who's serving right now. So it was just actually a really nice weekend to be able to step back and reflect on the power of service. So thank you, John, for doing that, and for everybody else who worked on that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to echo the thoughts about graduation. Thanks to the school, the Memorial Day celebration. You know, everything surrounding COVID-19 is horrible, right? Except for a few little glimmers of shiny things, and certainly one of them would be the way our community has come together and adapted to do various celebrations and things like that. And this Memorial Day one is, and like graduation, is certainly very special. Really, really thankful and proud of our community for the ways that we have come together in that. Okay, so we are going to head back into executive session. Council will be taking no further action after executive session this evening. The meeting will be reconvened only to formally adjourn. So with that, we will head into executive session, and then we will only be back to adjourn this meeting. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, public, for tuning in. We always love to hear your thoughts, and we will address the balance of our executive session meeting now. With that,